Welcome back to the deep dive. It is Sunday, March 1st, 2026. And look, before we even open the dossier on our main topic today, I think we have to just take a second to acknowledge the temperature of the room. It is a heavy morning.
It really is. I mean, if you have glanced at your phone or the TV in the last few hours, you know the global dashboard is basically flashing red.
Yeah, it feels like the alarms are ringing everywhere.
We are seeing these rapid, high-stakes escalations. Iran, Israel, the United States. It is not just rhetoric anymore.
No, it is real.
We are seeing new waves of strikes reported overnight. And for us, specifically here in the Philippines, this is not abstract geopolitical theory.
Right.
When you see Philippine Airlines and the Middle East carriers suddenly suspending flights, that hits home immediately.
That is the lifeline for millions of families. That is exactly how the remittance economy moves.
Exactly. The anxiety regarding our overseas Filipino workers is spiking right now. It is one of those moments where you really feel the fragility of the global order.
Yeah.
You wake up, check the news, and realize the map is fundamentally changing.
And usually, when the world feels like it is catching fire like this, the natural instinct is to look outward. You know, you focus on survival. You focus on the big picture.
You watch the borders.
Right. Domestic squabbles usually take a backseat because, frankly, they feel small by comparison. I mean, who cares about office politics when the airspace is closing down?
It puts things in perspective.
Yeah.
Or at least it usually does.
But we are doing the exact opposite today. We are zooming in.
We are.
Because right in the middle of this global maelstrom, while everyone is looking at the horizon, there is a story unfolding right here at home, specifically in the halls of the Senate. And I think it speaks to something even more fundamental than physical safety. It speaks to fairness.
It is a story about the structural integrity of our own house. While the storm rages outside, we are finding out that the rules inside the house might be rigged.
Yeah.
It is a deep dive into who actually has to follow the rules and who gets a pass.
We're talking about a concept that is probably the most universally understood rule in the lives of our listeners. I call it the golden rule of employment. The thing that gets you out of bed at 6 in the morning when it is pouring rain and you just want to curl up.
The dreaded no work, no pay.
No work, no pay. It is the bedrock of the labor contract anywhere in the world. Whether you are a barista pulling espresso shots, a construction foreman, a data analyst, a public school teacher, the equation is completely binary.
You provide your labor, you get resources.
Exactly. You withhold your labor, the resources stop. It is basic physics. Input equals output.
But apparently we have found a glitch in the physics.
A very expensive glitch.
Or rather, a specific person who seems to exist completely outside of these laws of physics. Our deep dive today is built around a really scathing editorial from the Philippine Daily Inquirer.
Right, the piece titled Privileged Absenteeism.
That is the one. And the protagonist of this story, or perhaps the antagonist, depending on how you look at the source material, is a man everyone knows, Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa.
And the central tension we are going to explore today is not just that he is missing from work. It is the massive, glaring, split-screen reality we are living in.
The double standard.
Exactly. On screen left, you have the Department of Labor and Employment cracking the whip on no work, no pay for the average Filipino worker.
Being incredibly strict about it.
And then on screen right, you have a sitting senator who has been absent for months, literally a third of a year, all while his bank account remains perfectly active.
So here is our mission for this deep dive.
Yeah.
We need to deconstruct this double standard based on the editorial's arguments. We're going to look at the fact pattern first. Where is he? Why is he hiding?
We have to establish the timeline.
Right. But then I really want to get into the economics of it. What is this actually costing the public? And finally, the most infuriating part, according to the source, the excuses.
Oh, the excuses are wild.
Why is the Senate leadership acting like this? It's just standard operating procedure. We need to look at whether our democracy is functioning as a representative government or if we've accidentally built a protected class system.
Let us start with the facts on the ground. Segment 1, the absent senator. Lay out the timeline for us.
Okay, let us look at the calendar. Today is March 1st, 2026. According to the data compiled in the Inquirer editorial, Senator De La Rosa essentially vanished from his official duties shortly after November 11th, 2025.
November 11th. Let us just pause and do the mental math on that for a second.
It is a long time.
We have gone through the rest of November. We went through the entire Christmas season, all of December. We went through the New Year hangover of January. We have finished February. We are now in March.
It is an absolute lifetime in politics. The source specifies that as of today, he has missed 44 distinct workdays.
44 days.
But the more damning number, the one that really matters in the legislature, is 33 session days. He has missed 33 session days.
Okay, explain the difference for the listener who might not track the granular details of the Senate calendar. Why does a session day matter more than just a regular Tuesday at the office?
A session day is when the legislature is actually legislating.
That is the core job.
It is the only reason they are there. It is when they are physically on the plenary floor. This is where bills are debated, where votes are cast, where cabinet secretaries are grilled during hearings, and most importantly, where the national budget, the people's money, is scrutinized and approved.
So if you are not there on a session day...
If you are out there on a session day, you are literally not doing the core job you were elected to do. You are not representing anyone.
It is like a surgeon showing up to the hospital just to do some filing, but skipping all their scheduled surgeries.
That is a perfect analogy. And just to be completely clear here, because I know what some people might be thinking, people might say, well, maybe he is sick. Maybe he had a massive family emergency.
Right, life happens.
Life does happen. But the report is very, very clear on this. This is not a medical leave.
No doctor's notes.
No, this is not a sabbatical. This is a disappearance.
He has just ghosted the Philippine Senate.
Effectively, yes. He's just gone.
But we know why, right? I mean, this is not an unsolved mystery like the Mary Celeste where someone just vanished into thin air. There is a very specific, documented reason linked directly to that November 11th date.
Yes. And this is where the legal thriller aspect of the editorial comes in.
Yeah.
The absence coincides almost perfectly with a very public statement from Ombudsman Jesus Crispin Romulo.
Romulo went public?
He did. He went public with claims regarding the International Criminal Court, the ICC.
The ICC.
Right.
This is the shadow that has been hanging over the previous administration for years now.
Correct. The ICC Office of the Prosecutor has been systematically investigating the so-called war on drugs that took place under former President Rodrigo Duterte.
And De La Rosa's role in that was not small.
Not at all. They have named De La Rosa, who we have to remember was the architect and the primary enforcer of that drug war, as the chief of the Philippine National Police. At the time, they named him as a main co-perpetrator.
A main co-perpetrator in alleged crimes against humanity. That is incredibly heavy legal language.
It is the highest level of international law. We are not talking about graft here. We are not talking about a misplaced budget or a corruption scandal. We are talking about crimes against humanity.
So the catalyst for him vanishing from the Senate was Romulo claiming that an arrest warrant had either been issued or was absolutely imminent.
That appears to be the exact sequence of events, yes. The ombudsman says the warrant is coming, and the senator essentially says goodbye. He went to ground to avoid the reach of international law enforcement.
But here's the thing that really gets me about this detail and the source. Even if you are on the run, usually you call in. I mean, if I do not show up to the studio today to record with you, I have to email the producer, I have to file a formal leave form, I have to let HR know. Did he send a text, a formal letter to the Senate president?
That is actually one of the most baffling parts of the entire report.
Yeah.
There is absolutely no formal communication on file.
Nothing.
Nothing. He did not file for sick leave. He did not file for official travel. He just stopped walking through the front doors of the Senate building.
And this has actually impacted the real work of the government, right? It is not just an empty chair in a room. Things are falling through the cracks because he is not there.
Significant things are falling through the cracks. The editorial highlights a massive failure of duty regarding the national budget. De La Rosa was the vice chair of the Finance Committee.
That is a hugely powerful seat.
It is. And his specific portfolio, the specific job he was assigned to do, was defending the budget of the Department of National Defense.
Wait. Let us circle back to what we were just talking about in the intro. We just spent the first 5 minutes talking about how the world's on fire, Iran, Israel, global conflict.
Right.
And the guy in charge of defending the budget for our national...
Not there.
He just was not there.
He was completely absent during the plenary debates. So at a time of heightened global tension, the legislative scrutiny of our own defense spending was hampered. Why? Because the guy in charge of it was hiding from an international arrest warrant.
That connects the dots in a really, really uncomfortable way. It is not just a personal legal issue for him anymore. It is a national security gap for the country.
It disrupts the entire machinery of government. When a key figure like a committee vice chair vanishes, other senators have to scramble. They have to read briefings they were not prepared for. They have to cover his workload on the fly. It slows the whole legislative process down.
Okay, so that is the what. We know what happened. He is gone. He is hiding from the ICC, and he is neglecting the defense budget. Now, I want to pivot to the how much.
The financials?
Yes, because this is where the blood pressure of the average listener is really going to spike. Let us talk about the money.
The economics of privilege.
The editorial brings up a very recent, very painful contrast to highlight this. Just last week, February 25, 2026.
The 40th anniversary of the EDSA People Power Revolution.
A hugely historic date in the Philippines. But, interestingly, the current administration declared it merely a special working day.
Right.
Explain the nuance there for us. Why does special working day matter so much versus a regular holiday?
It is all about the pay premium and the attendance requirement. If the government declares a regular holiday, you get paid your daily wage even if you do not work. You get to rest, and your paycheck is whole.
But if it is a special working day?
If it is a special working day, the no work, no pay policy is in absolute full effect. You are expected to go to work.
So if a regular employee, let us say a clerk at the SSS, or a public school teacher, or someone working at a call center, if they decided, you know what, I want to honor the history of democracy today, or even just, I am exhausted and I need a break, and they did not show up on February 25th.
Their pay is docked immediately. 0 pesos for that day. The Department of Labor and Employment actually issued a specific reminder about this to the public. They were very strict about the messaging. If you do not log in, you do not get paid.
Okay, so that is the harsh reality for the 99% of the workforce. Now, let us open Senator De La Rosa's pay stub.
Let us do it.
He is not logged in for 44 days. What is the financial reality for him?
Well, senators sit at a very specific pay grade in the government structure. It's called salary grade 31.
I hear these salary grades thrown around in government news all the time. SG this, SG that. What does grade 31 actually look like in cold, hard cash?
The monthly basic salary range for salary grade 31 is between 293,191 pesos and 334,059 pesos.
Over 300,000 pesos a month.
And that is just the basic salary.
Let us just contextualize that for a second. The minimum wage in the National Capital Region is, what is it right now, around 600-ish pesos a day?
Yes, depending on the exact current wage order. It hovers right around there. So a minimum wage earner working full-time makes maybe 13 to 15,000 pesos a month.
Right.
Meaning Senator De La Rosa makes in one single month what a minimum wage earner has to grind for over 2 entire years to make.
And he is getting this massive salary while actively hiding.
Yes. He is. The source points to a statement from Senate President Vicente Tito Soto III. Soto went on the record and explicitly confirmed that De La Rosa continues to receive this full basic salary, plus his allowances, plus his other benefits.
Even after missing 33 session days.
Completely unabated. The money just keeps flowing into his account.
Plus allowances. That is the kicker right there, because
Right.
anyone who follows Congress knows the allowances are often vastly bigger than the actual base salary.
Oh, absolutely. We are talking about massive staffing budgets. We are talking about travel allowances.
Even though he is clearly not traveling anywhere officially.
Right, but the budget is there.
All right.
Maintenance and other operating expenses, or MOE. The gross annual package for a senator is easily over 4 million pesos, purely in personal salary, and then tens of millions more in operational funds.
I want to play a game here, a thought experiment. Let us call it rules for thee, but not for me.
I like it.
Let us take the actual rule book that governs the teacher, the policeman, the clerk, the standard civil service rules, and let us apply them directly to Senator Beto.
Okay.
If he were a high school principal under civil service rules and he vanished for 44 days without telling anyone, what happens to him?
The book is completely thrown at him. If
Yeah.
we look at the regulations, specifically Section 4K, Rule 1A of Dulles Department Order Number 2015, it clearly defines what constitutes gross and habitual neglect of duty.
What is the threshold for that? How many days?
It is known as the 30-day rule. This is the bright red line in government service. If an ordinary civil servant fails to report for work for 30 calendar days without an approved leave of absence, they are summarily declared AWOL.
Absence without leave.
Exactly.
And OWAL is not just a slap on the wrist, right? They do not just call you into the principal's office and say, do better.
No, it is entirely fatal to your career. It leads to what they call separation from service. You are fired, terminated. But it is actually much worse than just losing your job.
How so?
You forfeit your accrued benefits. All those leave credits you painstakingly saved up over years of service. Gone.
Wow.
Your retirement pension that you were banking on for your old age, gone. You were completely wiped out of the system.
So if Bateau was still police chief Bateau, a uniformed officer operating under civil service rules, he would have been fired over 2 weeks ago. He
Yes.
would have lost his entire pension. He would be out on the street.
Technically and legally, yes.
Yes.
He is currently at day 44 of his absence. He blew past that 30-day firing line a long time ago.
This is the disparity that the editorial points out, and it is the exact thing that drives people absolutely crazy. It is not just that politicians are rich, people understand there's wealth inequality. It is that the basic mechanism of accountability simply turns off when you reach a certain altitude in government.
It is an immunity shield. The rules apply to the bottom, but they evaporate at the top.
And this brings us directly to segment 3, the institutional response, or I guess the lack thereof, because the Senate is not just a building, it is a club, it is a body of peers. They regulate themselves, they police their own members.
In theory, they do.
So what has the club said about this glaring absence? We know Senate President Soto confirmed the payments are still happening. Did he offer a defense for that? Did he try to say, oh, don't worry, Bato is working remotely, he is reading bills from his safe house?
No, he did not even try to claim that he was working remotely.
Yeah.
Soto's defense was, well, it was interesting. He argued against suspending the actual operations of De La Rosa's office.
Okay, what was his logic there?
His logic was basically, if we cut the office budget, we punish the staff.
Oh, okay. I want to be fair here. I want to look at both sides. That actually makes some sense from a labor perspective. If I am a secretary or a legislative researcher or a driver in De La Rosa's office and I am still showing up to the Senate building every single day doing my job, I should not starve just because my boss is on the run from The Hague.
Right, I agree. That is a completely valid point regarding the office overhead and the staff's salaries. The collateral damage would be unfair to the regular workers, but that does not explain the senator's personal salary.
Right. You can easily pay the secretary without paying the senator. The payroll department can just uncheck a box. Did Soto address the personal salary issue?
He did, and this is where the defense gets incredibly soft. He suggested what he called a voluntary approach. He publicly urged De La Rosa to, and this is a quote, voluntarily forego his salary.
Voluntarily.
Yeah.
He asked him to please stop taking the taxpayers' money while he is hiding.
Essentially, yes. He appealed to his sense of propriety. He asked him to do the right thing on his own.
Propriety. We are talking about a guy who is hiding from a crimes against humanity charge from an international tribunal. I think we are way past the point of appealing to propriety.
It does seem a bit naive. And the editorial actually makes a devastating callback here. It reminds the readers of a quote, a very famous, very viral quote from Senator De La Rosa that happened during the pandemic.
Oh, I remember this. I know exactly what you were going to say. This was during the hybrid session.
Right. When everyone was locked down, the Senate allowed its members to attend sessions via Zoom or WebEx. And De La Rosa was caught on a hot mic. Maybe he did not know his microphone was unmuted, or maybe he just did not care. But he was heard saying, "Sarap ang buhay. Ganito na lang tayo palagi."
Just to provide a quick translation for any of our international listeners tuning in, life is good. Let's just stay like this always, huh?
Exactly. He was openly celebrating the ease of working from home, the lack of a grueling Manila commute, the comfort of his living room.
While the rest of the country was absolutely suffocating under some of the strictest lockdowns on the planet, lockdowns that he helped enforce as a key ally of the administration, he was sitting back saying, wow, this is the life.
The editorial uses that specific memory to really twist the knife. They are making a profound point. They're saying, you, the Senate leadership, are asking a man who explicitly celebrated the easy life and who is currently living the ultimate easy life of receiving full pay for absolute zero work. You are asking him to voluntarily give that up.
It is absurd.
It highlights a massive disconnect. It suggests a mindset among certain officials that views public office not as a heavy burden of public service, but merely as a position of extreme comfort and entitlement.
It is a modern-day let-them-eat-cake moment.
Truly.
But to be perfectly accurate to the source material, Soto did impose some kind of penalty, right? It was not just zero consequences across the board.
Correct. We have to be accurate. While the money continues to flow, his legislative influence has been capped. Soto confirmed that De La Rosa has been officially stripped of almost all of his committee memberships.
And there is one specific committee that the source mentions.
Yes, his removal from the powerful Blue Ribbon Committee.
Explain why the Blue Ribbon Committee is so important.
The Blue Ribbon Committee is essentially the primary investigative arm of the Senate. It is the panel that calls public hearings to grill officials about graft, corruption, and malfeasance in government.
So they are the ones who demand accountability.
Yes. So it would be deeply, darkly ironic for a fugitive senator, someone actively hiding from accountability, to be sitting on the very panel investigating government accountability.
Okay, so they removed him from that. Was there a specific rule they used to justify kicking him off the committee?
There was. There is a specific rule at the committee level that states continuous absences allow for the removal of a member from that committee.
Wait a second. So note the sheer hypocrisy in that distinction. They have a written rule to kick him off a committee for being absent.
Right.
But they apparently have absolutely no rule to kick him out of the Senate itself or to stop his paycheck.
Exactly. The rule book is incredibly granular when it comes to internal Senate politics, but completely blank when it comes to protecting the taxpayers' money.
That is a very, very convenient gap in the rule book. It is basically saying we can stop you from working, but we absolutely cannot stop you from getting paid.
It is a glaring loophole.
So naturally, people are pushing back against this. The public is not completely asleep. This has not gone unnoticed. The source brings up a group called Wag Kang Ku Corrupt.
Yes, they are an anti-corruption watchdog group, and they have taken formal action. They filed an official ethics complaint against De La Rosa.
What is the core legal argument they are using in this complaint?
They are framing his absence as a fundamental breach of the social contract. They argue that his continued unexplained absence constitutes a clear dereliction of duty and a grave abuse of the privilege entrusted to him by the Filipino voters.
It is basically a consumer protection argument. I, the voter, bought a product, which is legislative representation, and the product was simply never delivered. So I want a refund.
That is a good way to look at it. And they draw that direct comparison we talked about earlier. They point to the ordinary laborers working out in the heat, the daily commuters fighting traffic, the people who show up every single day because their families depend on that daily wage.
They do not have the luxury of ghosting their jobs.
Exactly. The watchdog group argues that a public official, especially one elected nationally, should not be exempt from that exact same moral and financial pressure.
So this ethics complaint is filed. It is a physical document sitting on a desk somewhere in the Senate. This brings us to what I want to call the excuse. And I have to say, when I first read this part of the notes, I genuinely thought it was satire. I thought I was reading a piece from The Onion.
It does sound exactly like a premise for a political comedy sketch.
Okay, introduce the character here. Senator J.V. Ejercito.
Right. Senator J.V. Ejercito is the chairman of the Senate Ethics Committee.
So he is the sheriff in this town. It is his specific job to look at this complaint from the watchdog group, evaluate it, and say, okay, let's have a hearing. But he has not scheduled one.
He has not.
Why? What is the official reason he gave to the public?
He officially stated that he has not scheduled the ethics hearing because, and I'm quoting the source here, the rooms at the Senate are booked for other hearings.
The rooms are booked.
No vacancy.
You have got to be kidding me. We are talking about the Senate of the Republic of the Philippines. This is a massive, sprawling government complex.
It is a huge facility.
They have a massive plenary hall. They have dozens of function rooms. They have expansive offices. Hell, if they really needed to, they have the budget to rent an entire hotel ballroom down the street in Pasay.
Easily.
And the reason they cannot find the time to discuss a sitting senator who is accused of crimes against humanity and has been missing for half a year, the reason is a scheduling conflict over conference rooms.
It completely strains credulity, does it not?
It is insulting. It is basically telling the public straight to their faces, we think you are stupid.
It heavily suggests an institutional avoidance strategy.
Yeah.
When you use a bureaucratic banality, something as mundane as room availability, to delay a massive constitutional and ethical issue, it sends a very clear signal. It signals that you just do not want to do it.
It is the absolute my dog ate my homework of political excuses.
It signals that the institution is desperately trying to run out the clock.
Why, though? What are they hoping happens?
Maybe they hope the news cycle shifts to something else.
Which, to be fair, with the Middle East blowing up, it might.
Exactly. Or maybe they hope the ICC issue resolves itself quietly behind closed doors. But what is abundantly clear is that they do not want the optics, the visual of a formal hearing discussing their own colleagues' delinquency.
They do not want to put him on trial in their own house, and this is exactly what the editorial calls class protection.
That is the much deeper theme of this entire piece. It is not really about De La Rosa as an individual anymore. It is about the old boys club protecting itself.
The code of silence.
The editorial argues very persuasively that lawmakers are terrified of setting a new precedent.
Because if they punish him.
Precisely. If they strictly punish De La Rosa for absenteeism today, if they actually cut off his pay and strip him of his title, what happens tomorrow when they want to take a month off to campaign for re-election?
Or what happens when they inevitably face a legal issue of their own?
Exactly. It is mutually assured destruction. If I fire you today for missing work, you might fire me tomorrow when I miss work. So the unspoken agreement is, let us just agree that nobody gets fired. Ever.
It is a cartel of leniency.
That is exactly what it is, a cartel.
The source material actually brings up a fascinating historical comparison to show that this is not just a uniquely Filipino cultural flaw. It is an inherent structural flaw in democracies everywhere. They mention Colombia.
Yes, Colombia in 2016. It is almost a perfect mirror image of the situation we are discussing.
Set the scene for us. What happened in Colombia?
The public in Colombia was completely fed up with seeing empty seats in their Congress. They were tired of paying politicians who did not show up. So a sweeping measure was introduced to punish chronic absenteeism. It was essentially a strict no work, no pay law designed specifically for politicians.
That sounds great. Did it pass?
It failed. But the reason it failed is the ultimate irony of this whole topic. It did not fail because they debated it and voted no.
Do not tell me.
It failed because not enough lawmakers showed up to vote on it.
Are you serious? The bill against absenteeism died because of absenteeism.
You literally cannot make it up. The quorum was broken by the very people the law was trying to discipline. They just did not show up to the session, so the bill could not move forward.
That is wild.
It perfectly demonstrates how incredibly difficult it is to get a privileged class to regulate its own privilege.
It is like asking the foxes to install a state-of-the-art lock on the henhouse door. They're just never going to do it. It goes against their nature.
Which is exactly why the Inquirer editorial concludes that we cannot rely on voluntary waivers of salary or wait around for imaginary room availability in the Senate.
Because asking nicely does not work. So what is the concrete solution the editorial proposes?
They suggest institutionalizing a hard, codified, no work, no pay scheme for Congress, an automatic system.
How would that work in practice?
If you are not physically present in the section hall when the gavel drops, or logged in officially for a committee hearing, the payroll computer automatically deducts that day's wage from your monthly salary.
No discretion.
No discretion, no need for a floor vote, no need for an ethics committee hearing that gets delayed by room bookings, just pure, unfeeling math.
Just like the rest of us, if I do not punch the biometric clock at the office, the payroll system knows, and my check is later at the end of the month.
Exactly. It is about leveling the playing field.
So let us try to bring this all together. We are looking at a governmental system that is blinking red right now. It is March 1st, 2026. We have a sitting senator who has been gone for 44 days. We have a taxpayer bill of nearly 500,000 pesos in wasted base salary alone so far, not counting millions in allowances.
Right.
We have a room booking excuse from the ethics committee that absolutely insults our collective intelligence. And we have a spiraling global crisis where we need every single national leader on deck, and one of our key defense guys is missing.
And beyond all of those individual facts, we have a very dangerous message being sent to the general public.
What is that message?
That there are fundamentally two sets of rules in this country. One extremely lenient set of rules for the people who make the laws, and one incredibly strict set of rules for the people who have to suffer under them.
That is a highly dangerous frequency for a government to broadcast to its citizens.
It is. Yeah. Because public trust is a finite resource. When leaders openly abuse the system, simply because they know their peers will protect them from any real consequences, that trust evaporates very quickly.
And once it is gone, it is hard to get back.
And in times of severe crisis, like right now, with the Middle East flaring up and the global economy teetering, you desperately need that public trust. You need the citizens to believe that their government is actually working for them and not just enriching themselves.
You want to believe they are in the trenches with you. You want to know they're feeling the same pressure you are, not watching the crisis unfold from a safe house while their government check clears every 2 weeks.
Precisely. That is the core of the grievance here.
So here is the thought I want to leave you with today. The next time you are watching a news report about the Senate, maybe they are debating a new tax or a new labor law, Look at the background of the shot. Look at the empty chairs in the plenary hall.
Count the empty seats.
And think about that room booking excuse. Keep an eye on Senator Ejercito. See if he ever miraculously finds a free conference room to hold that ethics hearing.
Or if the silence from the leadership just continues indefinitely.
Because if the silence continues and this just gets swept under the rug as business as usual, we all have to answer a very hard question. If the people writing the laws are entirely exempt from the basic work ethic required to survive under those laws, is this actually a functioning democracy? Or is this just a protection racket for the powerful?
That really is the ultimate question we are left with.
Thanks for going on this deep dive with us today. I know it is a frustrating topic, but it is one we simply cannot look away from if we want things to change. Stay safe out there, keep your eyes open, and we will catch you on the next one.